some amazing footage of this activist. Her name is I should have practiced this. She's a Congolese immigrant, and her name is Therese Okoumou, and she scaled the Statue of Liberty building to unfurl a abolish ICE poster, and she wore a Rise and Resist t-shirt. And let's start with this footage
who's that, NYPD?
of her. She's up there. This is an NYPD helicopter monitoring the situation.
I don't know how she got up there.
That is
pretty impressive.
Incredibly gutsy climb. And she's unfurling.
Okay, we're just it's on stage low.
This is a.
I believe one side says Rise and Resist.
One side of the t-shirt it says Rise and Resist.
That's the organization.
And what's the other side? Banner. Okay. And now this is footage of, this is her talking with the cop. This is with the NYPD guy trying to negotiate with her as she sits there at enormous personal risk to, and I hope she has all of her paperwork in order after doing this. I mean, they're going to, if we can take, from the really any modern protest movement in the United States, the repression of the state apparatus against any type of even modestly progressive activism, we got to be very concerned about this case and applaud her and her courage and these incredible images
and support her as she goes through the system.
Yeah. We got to stay on top of this story on a regular basis because they're gonna, they might really come for this woman, Therese
Patricia Okoumou.
Therese Patricia Okoumou. We need to stay on top of this. And this is the Daily News headline: Scorn on the 4th of July. Cops, and more amazing pictures of this. Cops stop Statue of Liberty from climb by women seeking independence for children jailed in Trump's camps. That's not bad, actually.
Yeah, it's better than most of the headlines I saw.
I would imagine that the...
Cops save the day.
Yeah.
Protect Statue of Liberty's feet.
Yeah.
I must say, though, the only county arguments I've seen are people like, you put the first responders in harm's way. It's shut up.
We talked about on Tuesday on the Michael Brooks Show, we went over just a sort of panoramic view for the shout out of all of the pieces of activism, a lot that we saw over this past week, or a lot of them with regards to the Trump administration's kidnap, extortion, and ransom policy with regards to the border. And, of course, the broader structural and strategic white supremacy of the Trump administration and the Republican Party, and how this fits a piece of everything from voter suppression to the war on immigration, and how it's really indulging their racism and helping them build and carve the electorate they wanted. And then I went back, and a lot of people have been passing this around, and I don't know if you guys touched on this last week on the Majority Report while I was out of town, but the piece, the New York Times editorial from 1934 by one Professor Cadbury, urging Jewish people to be civil to the Nazis and suggesting that really the best way to overcome Nazism and deal with those regimes is to extend courtesy and charity to the Nazis. And and as I said at the time, if you're from that accusing me of indirectly or maybe even fairly directly comparing the Trump administration and this policy to Nazis, yes, I am exactly doing that. And number two, anybody who comes out with a first responders in harm's way type take, you are the Professor Cadburys of today. And the very least you could do when somebody like this woman, Therese Okoumou, Therese Okoumou, does something this necessary, this physically courageous, and this morally clear, at the very least, if this type of thing triggers your neurosis, makes you uncomfortable, unsettles your carefully insulated and coddled sensibilities, just keep your mouth shut. Or potentially, if you can, expand your courage and moral imagination. But if you can't do that, at the very least, don't concern troll and interfere with somebody who's demonstrated more courage than you're likely ever to, and is also about to be somebody that we're going to need to support as the system comes at them in a broader, sense that we've seen from everything from the protests that greeted the Trump administration, inauguration protests, and really going back to how environmental groups have been monitored, anti-war groups have been monitored. This is a very serious issue. Or even the Jake Flores case of the ICE joke that led the Twitter satire that led to a visit from 4 members of Homeland Security the next day at his apartment. So, at the very least, be silent than be a concerned troll appeaser.
Yeah, if we want to call that being moderate, it's time to cash that check now. And you'll have more credibility because you've been so moderate on these sorts of things, but it's not time to be that anymore.
It is not time to be. Don't be that guy.